Hey guys, thanks for joining us for this 113th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. Special guests on this episode include rocker Gary Kemp. Remember him from Spandau Ballet? He's got a new solo single and video for Too Much. We'll visit with three-time Olympian and world champion in bobsled Lolo Jones. Her new book, Over It: How to Face Life's Hurdles with Grit, Hustle, and Grace, is available now. We'll also visit with reality star, model, singer, and overall boss lady Amara La Negra. She's got a new podcast, Exactly Amara. We'll visit with legendary drummer Sheila E. Has an upcoming special, Roots of Latin Jazz, that premieres this Friday on PBS. And we'll visit with country music newcomer Christian Yeager. We'll talk about his new single, Born for a Friday Night. Of course, if you would, please take the time to subscribe, comment, leave some feedback, check out the shop, and share with your friends. Now, we're right between Memorial Day and Labor Day, which means it's peak hot dog season. In fact, National Hot Dog Day is today. So someone looked into which states love hot dogs the most using data from the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, along with Google. Now, West Virginia's number one, followed by North Carolina, South Carolina, Illinois, Maine, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Nevada. And in all, Americans will consume 7 billion hot dogs between Memorial Day and Labor Day. And mustard, obviously, is the most popular topping. We've got a brand new single to talk with Gary Kemp about. It's called Too Much. And first off, Gary, I appreciate you taking some time to be on the show.
Thank you for having me on.
Now, Gary, tell us the new single, the video behind Too Much, and this one, you can tell this one comes from the heart, Gary, and what does this new single and video really mean to you personally?
This is the last song I wrote for the album in solo, which has just come out. It's and I wrote it right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I fell on the piano one day, and it was really, it's a song that sort of says, I can't be that guy. I'm sorry. It's an apology to my wife, really, saying I can't be the guy who's changing the world. All I can, the crisis is on the street, but I can't move my feet. Or I just want to be with the ones I love and protect you and be with you. So I think there was a lot of that went into the idea of the song. We hear so much about the environment failing and what we need to do, and a lot of celebrities out there telling us what to do, and that's cool. That's great, but at that moment in time, and I think with the pandemic happening, it was just, to me, it felt like I just wanted to protect my family, and that's what the emotion was that went into that song. And then I sent the song to Roger Taylor from Queen, who's a friend of mine, and he said, "Look, I'd love to play drums on this." So I was working remotely at that time because of the pandemic, and that's how we did it.
And Gary, how much have you learned to appreciate technology this last year, especially being able to work with Roger on this remotely as well?
Yeah, a lot. I thought that making this album would mean just spending a lot of time in studios setting up drum kits with other people, and all that. Really, money is time, and it was actually really easy to do it remotely. I got Guy Pratt from Pink Floyd, and I play with him in Nick Mason's Source Full of Secrets. He's on the record, on the album, and there's a lot of really great players that I used mostly remotely. Although when the studios opened last summer, we got in there and we did strings, and I replaced all the plastic instruments for real instruments. And so I think the urgency that made me create the album was because we all thought at that time that the pandemic was only going to be a few months. And then I was going to go back out on the road with Nick Mason. So I felt like I didn't have long to make it. And in a way, and this is an awful thing to say, I feel grateful for the time I had.
I've read different headlines and articles, and you're talking about needing other people to hear this, not any time to lose. And Gary, what's behind the urgency, if you will?
Yeah, I just felt that this album was about me. It was about who I was right now. It was about a guy who's reached an age where there's more behind him than in front of him. And, how does he approach life when he's not as strong as he used to be? There are a few songs that deal with that. The woman in my life never knew me when I was, the guy was in his pomp. There's songs about that. I felt that this was an album about me now. I made the record. I didn't have a record company. I showed it to the boss of Sony, and he said, you know what, I'd love to have this. Let's get it out. And I think in a way it's taken me by surprise, because it's had such a great reaction around the world.
To get that validation, I guess, of your work as well, when you're not real sure about it, what was your initial reaction getting the feedback?
Yeah, yes, I think, wow, I'm not the only one who thinks it's good, which was good. When I make stuff, when I write a song, I try and raise the goosebumps on my arms. I try and dig deep into myself. I don't write with other people. A song comes right out of me. I've been doing it since I was 11 years old. Yeah, and I try and dig deep, and I try and make myself feel true emotion with it. And the reason I do that is because I want to communicate it, because there are people out there who listen and go, wow, I'm not the only person in the world who thought that. And that's why we all love music and art, and we read, because we want to feel that we're part of a community and we're not alone. So I suppose I'm never going to be making this for myself. So I was really thrilled that a record company wanted to put it out, and then I get a chance to talk about it, and people get a chance to hear it. Even if it's never going to change my lifestyle, it's something that I really want to communicate.
And Gary, we've all gone through so much this last year, and it seems like whenever you see big trials and tribulations in the world, you see it's reflected in the music. And Gary, how do you see the music changing to reflect what we've all gone through?
Well, I think the remote concepts of bands working together but not in the same room is not going to be uncommon. I think it's going to come out when we get to play live, and I think there's going to be a greater appreciation of the communal experience of being in an auditorium with other people. Something else I do in my life is I'm a trustee of the Theatres Trust over here in the UK, and we try and look after all the theatres across the country. And, trying to support our local theatres. This is where the heartland is of every major town, inside an auditorium, whether it's a musician on stage or a comedian or a play. It's where we go to join forces with each other and try and make amends and, stop the divisions. So, listen, I know it sounds really preachy, I know, but this is how I think we'll all be a lot more grateful. We'll all be a lot more grateful when we can hear music loud, with our arms in the air.
And somebody in the back saying I still can't hear, right? Live music, right?
Yeah, there's always someone who's deaf. Yeah. But so I'm looking forward. I think I'm going to be coming back to the States with Nick Mason sometime next year, and I think that's we had such a great tour there last time, so I'm looking forward to that.
That's good stuff. And Gary, I again want to make sure and let our listeners know where to find more information, not only about the single, the album, and everything you've got going social media wise as well.
Yeah, my Instagram is what I spend more time on, which is Gary J. Kemp, and I've got a website, GaryKemp.com. And you can catch me a bit on Twitter.
There you go. Well, Gary, it has truly been a privilege and a pleasure to have the chance to visit with you, sir. I hope you have a continued great rest of your week, and hopefully we can catch up when you come stateside.
Thanks, man. All the best.
Well, it's that time of year again, when everyone debates whether or not hot dogs qualify as a sandwich. Now, there's a new survey out where 53% of people say a hot dog is a sandwich. But here's something else. 75% of people, or 3 out of 4, have put condiments in the bun before the hot dog. Now, technically, it was more of a have you done it than a question of a preferred method, but still surprising. For the record, the official hot dog etiquette guide said you should never place condiments between the bun and the hot dog. You always put the dog in first. She got a brand new book to talk about, Over It, How to Face Life's Hurdles with Grit, Hustle, and Grace. We've got 3-time Olympian and also bobsled world champion on the line with us, Lolo Jones. And first off, Lolo, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
Now, the book, over it. As a hurdler, as an athlete, bobsled champ, as all of those things, how hard was it to sit down and put thoughts down on paper to share with others?
Well, in a normal year, it would be really difficult, but this was done during pandemic. So I was stuck at home with nothing to do. Like, all my competitions were canceled. We didn't know if the Olympics were going to get canceled or postponed. So it was perfect timing to do this. And it was tough to relive some of those moments that I've been like mocked or teased about, losing the Olympics, coming up short. But it also gave me a really good reflecting back on some of those things. I'm just excited to share it.
And you reflect on those, and as you look back now, you get a little time away from those. It allows you to appreciate those moments. And Lolo, I know that you use some of the hard times that you've gone through before to propel you to the future. And explain to our listeners kind of the whole concept behind that as well.
Yeah, so I grew up, I had a rocky childhood. My dad was in and out of prison. My mom had 5 kids, and so we were just really poor. I mean, at one point we were homeless. And that, all those experiences, like, we didn't even have enough money for a car, so I walked or ran everywhere. And so using that to get a track scholarship and then eventually go on to compete at the Olympics. So I dive really deep into those moments and how, some of those things that wouldn't be considered good actually turned out to be a blessing for me. And then just talking about, losing the Olympics, my very first Olympics, and then, just the journey of that and how that propelled me to go on and become a summer and winter Olympian.
And how did you make that transition? What was the transition into bobsledding? Who brought that to you, or was that something that you had inner motivations for?
Well, I actually grew up with this movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Cool Runnings. It's a great movie.
Of course.
If you've never seen it, definitely check it out. And that was always in the back of my mind. And then also there was a track and field athlete at LSU that competed at the Summer Olympics, and then he went on to do bobsled as well. And so I'd had talks with him, and just little seeds were planted throughout my life that put me in a position to try out bobsled. But ultimately, it was because after the London Games, I got 4th. And it was the fastest Olympic race to this date that the time I would have ran would have got me in a medal at any Olympics but that one. And so I just came home and I was absolutely frustrated. I never wanted to run a race again. I was that discouraged. So I sat on my couch for about a month, and I realized I was going into such a bad state mentally that I had to do something, but I knew I couldn't run. I just didn't have the passion or energy for it anymore. So doing bobsled was another way to just compete, but not in my sport, and kind of just in a sport that's unknown. It doesn't get a lot of attention. So I was able to kind of it provided a lot of healing after the London Games.
And as you prepare for the 2021 Winter Olympics, you look at the Summer Olympics. I mean, can you imagine going through what the athletes are having to go through with COVID and pandemic and everything like we've never seen before?
Yes, because I actually competed last season during this whole trial of COVID. Can athletes compete? And so we were kind of the testers for the Summer Olympians, like how often we were getting the COVID test, our protocols, how to travel. And so I know exactly what they're going through. And it's tough. It's very stressful. The season we competed in last year to the beginning of this year, it felt like 2. It was a lot of stress. We would make plans, they would get canceled or postponed or changed. We had some teammates, and I even tested positive for COVID, but it was a false positive. But it shut our whole team down for 24 hours until the other test came in. So these athletes that are competing in the Summer Olympics are going to be some of the toughest athletes, because they are dealing with so much extra stress, whether that's the COVID protocols, not having their friends and families there to cheer them on, and just the extreme circumstances of the climate we're in today.
Lolo, you in the name of the book, How to Face Life's Hurdles with Grit, Hustle, and Grace. I think the grace part of it is the part that we most struggle with. And over this last year, what has been the internal factor that has helped you keep that grace as we open back up, if you will?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The grace is the hardest part, like especially after a tough loss. There are so many times where you can just become bitter or harbor those negative feelings, but you have to look back with like on those failures or the past with an open heart and a heart of thankfulness. And if not, it's just the bitterness is going to creep in. It's gonna just overtake you. And I've had moments like that where when I lost my first Olympics, I started to feel that bitterness again. Well, yeah, you're not the Olympic champion, and just replaying that loss over and over in my head. And then I had to just snap it and be like, no, yes, you did not win the Olympics, but you are an Olympic athlete. And 4 years ago, you were sitting at home watching the Olympics from your couch. So having a heart of thankfulness and changing your perspective so that you're not bitterness is a very quite difficult challenge.
In sharing your testimony as well and sharing your faith, how hard is that in the times that we live in to be open and honest about your feelings as well?
I just feel like being a Christian and sharing your faith is like going to be automatic attacks. Like it's weird because I'll give an example. I mean, I'm waiting to have sex until I'm married, and I've had so many people tease me for that. Like and I'm not teasing them for their beliefs, but I'm just sharing. Like I'll have someone like, well, why are you not ever with a boyfriend? Why are you not dating? I'm like, well, this is my beliefs, and most people don't share that, so they don't want to date someone who's not going to have sex with them until they're married. And then that will just cause a whole bunch of like, who cares? Shut up and just put out already. You would have won the Olympic medal if you would have had sex. Like just attacks. And so it's difficult to share faith nowadays. It's countercultural. It's been harder for me to talk about my faith sometimes than like anything else. And so I open up in the book about it because I just really had enough of the backlash of it.
And again, like you mentioned, the book, Over It, How to Face Life's Hurdles with Grit, Hustle, and Grace. It is available everywhere now. And of course, Lolo, I want to make sure and let our listeners know if they want to find more about the book and everything you've got going social media wise as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love it if they check out my social media. Everything's Lolo Jones. And I hope to inspire people, and hopefully they are encouraged after reading my book to go and make us another stab at their dream.
There you go. Well, Lolo, it has been great to visit with you today. I wish you nothing but continued success, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
Oh, thank you. Bye, guys.
Dictionary.com just announced a huge update with more than 300 new words and revisions of old words. The additions include newsworthy things like 5G, long COVID, and domestic terrorism. Cultural things like deplatform, minoritize, side hustle, and y'all, which somehow wasn't already on Dictionary.com. Internet lingo like trigger warning, abbreviated to TW, content warning, abbreviated to CW, and DEI, meaning diversity, equity, and inclusion. And just silly stuff like oof, silver fox, yeet, zaddy, which is an attractive man who's also stylish, charming, and self-confident, and snack, as in a sexy person. You know her as a reality star, model, singer, pretty much a boss lady as well. Amara La Negra on the line with us today, and going to be talking about the new podcast. Exactly, Amara. And first off, Amara, thank you so much for your time.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to use your platform to share this exciting news of mine with my new podcast, Exactly, Amara. And I can't wait for everybody to check it out.
Now, Amara, when did you finally decide to delve into podcasting? I mean, when was it you decided you need a new hat? Is that what it was?
You know what? I am the type of girl that I don't want to put any limits to my art, right? I don't want to put any limits to myself, and I want to explore and try every single thing that I can possibly think of. I want to give a special shout out to Enrique Santos, who also has his own show on iHeart. And he was the one who actually told me, you know what? You have such a great voice. You have a great personality. Why don't you try getting into podcasts? And he actually made everything happen for me. So thanks to him, I'm currently here today with this podcast. And I'm very, very happy to be part of my Cultura Podcast Network family now as well.
And what was the initial concept behind the podcast when you first started? Did it have to evolve a little bit to the final project?
I think so. I mean, I just wanted to be able to showcase exactly who I am, like I do on social media, but this time around, be able to do it on a podcast. And I'm naturally unfiltered, uncensored. I'm a little bit wild, spontaneous, and I think that that's what they kind of liked. You know, I'm not a cookie cutter type of person. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is, even if it sounds bad. And I think that you need to be able to have that. I think you need to be able to have that opportunity to just express yourself. And then also, exactly, Amara, is a way to like uplift the Latinx community. I think that has been underrated for a very long time in the media, especially when it comes to podcasts. And as an Afro-Latina, as a Dominican woman, as a Black woman, being able to just bring a little bit of diversity to podcasts and the Spanglish energy, I think is pretty interesting.
And Mara, you mentioned there, how important do you think it is for conversation to continue? I mean, it seems like all we talk about is the differences. I mean, conversation, that shows us how much alike we really are, right?
Correct. But I still feel that at the same time, it should be a learning, an educational experience as well. You know, we still have a lot of fun conversations, but in between talking about sex, relationships, finances, generational wealth, which I'm such a big believer on. And we talk about music, and we talk about celebrities, and we talk about all these other things, talking about diversity, representation, and all those things also are important, but in an educational way and in a way that you don't feel like I'm pointing fingers at you. It's just an open conversation.
And Amara, are there places that you're like, you know, we'll cover this, and this, but we're going to stay away from that? Is there anything that you just say, no, we're not going to go there?
Okay, I'm not even going to lie. There are some things that I do get a little bit scary when it comes to, like, for example, obviously religion is a sensitive topic, which I still feel that we could talk about it because everybody has a right to their own opinion. The same thing that we obviously know with politics. But we kind of still have to talk about it a little bit, not too deep, because that's not my type of show, but we still have to talk about it. So there's certain little things like that I do my best to, like, if we touch on it, let's be, sensitive about it somewhat, but still be honest. And by the way, I want to give a special shout out to my co-host, Stevie Nunez, because whenever things get too spicy for me, he's the one that takes control of it. So I love it.
And Amara, this last year, what are the inspirations that you take out of 2020 in all of the ugliness that was there that you carry in as things are opening back up in 2021?
There's many things actually that I learned from them. One, I've always loved my mother. I've always appreciated her, but I just took more time to spend time with her and do the small little things that people think that don't matter. Like, going outside in the garden and planting trees, which is something that she personally loved, but I'm a city girl, so it was never a thing for me. But I realized how important it is to just share those moments. I also matured and realized also, like I was saying before, that you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify your finances, and learning about finances is such an important part that I don't really think that our community, especially the Latino community, has too much knowledge. I don't like to generalize, but a lot of us don't have too much knowledge on how to handle our finances. And that's why I decided to get into real estate. And now I am an investor in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic. I currently have 9 apartments that I Airbnb. I promote tourism as well. And I do many things. So definitely learned that. And I just learned to, like, really, really love myself. I just love who I am and love the journey that I live. Like, this is life. You're here today and you might be gone tomorrow. So just live it. And I'm living it now.
Amara, who are the folks that really inspire you each and every day? I mean, when you're having a rough day, who are the ones that you look to for inspiration?
Oh my God, this is going to sound crazy, but I think that there's a lot of people on social media that may not be as popular, may not be popping, but just their work ethic and their drive and their grind is very inspirational. I listen to the Motivate app, which I'm such a fan of, listening to motivational speeches to just keep me going. Like Gary V is one of those people that I really usually, listen to when I need that extra boost. And he hits me up on Instagram all the time too. But yeah, and then just the people that are surround me, like my mother, the smallest little things, as hard as she's worked and as tired as she is, she still gets up every day. And she is my, biggest motivation in life.
That's good stuff. And no better place to find motivation and inspiration than at the house, right?
That's right. It's the little things that count. We all look at people once they've already made it big, but we don't want to be part of the journey and the process to get there. So I love to be able to have her there. And she always motivates me and makes sure that, that I'm on point and keep my feet grounded, that I don't get too hyped up. So definitely excited for that. And I also want to take this opportunity to give a special shout out as well to some of my Cultura Podcast Network family that have their amazing podcasts, like Wilmer Valderrama, Gloria Estefan, Eva Longoria, Chiquis, Enrique Santos. Special shout outs to all of them because they're doing such a great job at uplifting the Latino community through these podcasts. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be part of this family as well. For those that are still listening and you just tuned in, don't miss Exactly Amara every Thursday on iHeartRadio. Check me out as well on all our social media platforms at Exactly Amara and my personal one at Amara La Negra ALN for more information, because I don't want you guys to miss this. This is our 4th show, so we're just starting. It's my little baby, and I'm really excited for you guys to check it out.
That's good stuff. Again, check out Exactly Amara wherever you get your podcast. And of course, you can follow Amara on all the socials. Amara, thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to the new episodes, and hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
That's right. Exactly Amara. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, it seems like women are in prime style mode for decades, while men go from looking like overgrown teenagers to wearing jean shorts, denim hats, socks with sandals, and unnecessary belts in no time flat. But what does the science say? A recent study found that men hit their style prime at the age of 30. Before that, the average guy will go through 5 overall looks, 4 hairdos, and 3 different facial hairstyles. Roughly 40% of the 2,000 men surveyed described their style as casual, while 10% would call it smart. Now, it's unclear if any were willing to go for smart casual. Only 5% would say their style is cool, which honestly is a relief. It is worth pointing out that they didn't say how long this style prime would last. So it's possible at the eve of turning 31, they start rocking transition lenses and a tucked-in novelty t-shirt. Got a Latin Jazz PBS special coming up on Friday. She's also on the cover of Modern Drummer as well. We've got our good friend, the legendary Sheila E, on the line with us. And Sheila, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, we talked about the PBS special coming out on Friday, going to be all month as well. And Sheila, tell the listeners just a little bit about your inclusion in the special as well.
Yeah, so my friend Tony Sugar, who is the arranger, producer, he put this whole entire somewhat documentary piece together. And he's just an incredible arranger, young, he's Japanese, Peruvian, and he's a timbale player, percussionist, and an arranger. And the way he put this together is just so passionate, but it shows you from country to country, from Brazil to Peru to Cuba. He takes you around and the different styles of music and with arrangements and with the bands playing this music. It's just incredible. I mean, I couldn't believe, even when I watched it, he wanted me to host the show. And so a lot of the music was done, and so I didn't really get to hear it. So I spoke about it as we filmed this. And then at the end of doing the hosting, he said, "Hey, I want you to play, you have to play at least one song because we've been working together for a while." He said, "You've got to play on one song." I said, "Are you kidding me? I would love to. I would be mad if you didn't ask me to play." So I played, part of one of the songs towards the end. It's just amazing. I had so much fun doing this, and I think people are really going to enjoy what the music is about and how he explains it. And I mean, you can't help but just put your dancing shoes on. It's going to be hard to sit down and listen to it for sure and watch it. You're going to want to stand up and dance and have a great time. It's really good.
Now, Sheila, for you, is it scarier to hold the drumsticks in your hand or the microphone or the hosting duties? I'm sure it was a wireless anyway.
I love it all. Hosting is totally different, but I mean, I definitely like playing better.
and also, like we mentioned, the new issue of Modern Drummer magazine as well, to be featured on there as a Hall of Famer as well. Sheila, I mean, is this validation?
It is. I mean, I'm honored. I can't believe we made history in doing this, that the people voted me in, and I'm the first woman to receive the Hall of Fame in Modern Drummer in the 45 years. And that's kind of amazing. It's hard to believe because we're in 2021. And, I mean, especially because of social media. I mean, it's so great to see how many incredible drummers and percussion players there are right now, and that just so happen to be women. So for me to win this, I'm so honored and excited about it, and to think like I'm the first, but I know I'm definitely not going to be the last.
That's right. And Sheila, this last year, I know you've always been on the cutting edge of things. This last year being away and having a little more time to yourself, did maybe you find some new musical inspirations, maybe some new beats, if you will?
Oh, absolutely. I'm inspired. I was inspired by so many musicians throughout this pandemic, and being able to get on social media, you know, almost every day and find even these young artists. I mean, I just can't believe. I'm like, how did this all happen? It's almost like your eyes are open now. You get to see what the world is presenting now. I think the great thing about this is, for one thing, is that it seemed like a couple of years ago, it seemed like young kids, young people playing music, like instruments and learning about music, was fading away, and especially jazz, Latin jazz music. And my dad and I were talking about it a couple of years ago, and we're just like, gosh, we got to get to these kids. We have to, you know, make sure they're learning music. It's just so important, fundamentally as well. And then when this pandemic happened, I started showing my mom and dad. I was like, look at these kids, look at these young people. Not just percussion and drums, but playing upright bass and saxophone and trombone and, you know, a piano. Oh my God. And I'm showing them these videos, and they're just amazing. It made my dad so happy. It made all of us happy. But the great thing about it is, when I see these young people playing, I go on social media and I text them, and I leave them a message, and I say, hey, I'm a fan of yours, and I just want to tell you to continue to do what you're doing. That this is so exciting. I'm so inspired by you. And a lot of times they're like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe Sheila E. Oh my God, you're my teacher. I love you so much. Thank you. Or their parents would say, oh, my son's gonna love. I have to. My son's been watching your videos. We're teaching him about you. Thank you. So I've been talking to the parents of these young kids. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of young people throughout the world, not just in the United States, in South Africa, in Brazil, in Canada, in Europe. I mean, it's just been amazing. What a great time to experience music right now.
And Sheila E., you touched on something there, reaching another generation. And I know you've received lots of awards over your career. And I know that a very special one at the Latin Grammys coming up in November, being recognized along with your father. And does that kind of put the icing on the cake whenever you get to receive an award with your dad as a part of it as well?
Oh, absolutely. And again, we did not realize that, of course, this was a surprise to us, but to get this award, Lifetime Achievement, I mean, you know, to give my dad recognition now while he's still here, to give him his flowers now, it's well deserved and overdue for him. I'm so excited, and when they told us, I mean, I cried for like 20, 30 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't stop crying. I'm like, Dad, I'm so happy for my dad, you know. And history again, giving us an award with to two people that have the same name, and also just so happen to be father and daughter. That's never been done. So we're just excited and honored that the Academy has given us and acknowledged what we've done so far. So yeah, it's a true honor.
That's right. Well, Sheila, like we mentioned, several things going on the cover of Modern Drummer magazine. Also, the PBS special coming up on Friday and available all month, and the Lifetime Achievement Award. Of course, Sheila, want to make sure and let folks know where they can keep up with everything else you've got going, social media and website as well.
Yeah, social media website, Sheila E. Drummer, and then SheilaE.com.
Easy enough, Sheila. Well, Sheila, it is always great to visit with you. I truly appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule. Hope you have a great rest of your week and look forward to talking to you again real soon, my friend.
Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Australia has done better than most other countries throughout the pandemic because it closed its external and internal state borders and forced travelers to quarantine in a hotel. But today, there are two stories of people that are trying to break the rules. First, a woman was busted earlier this month having cigarettes delivered to the roof of her hotel by drone. She was caught by a hotel staff member and the police have fined her $1,300. Now, a man was operating the drone from below, and it's unclear if he could also be punished. Now, this may be against the rules, but a drone delivery seems like a smart way to hand something off while social distancing. Well, also in Australia, a 39-year-old man escaped his hotel quarantine yesterday by tying bed sheets together, tossing it out his window, and using it as a rope to descend down 4 stories to the street below. He was caught, arrested, and charged with failure to comply. A 17-year-old Pennsylvania native, singer-songwriter, social media influencer, I guess now as well, Christian Yeager with us. And first off, Christian, it's a privilege to have the chance to visit with you, brother.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here doing this. This is my first podcast ever.
Wow. How about that? Boy, you really put the pressure on me. Thanks. When the thing started off doing some music, put it out there on social media, and the way everything else does kind of blowing up, what was your first reaction from the reactions you were getting?
I mean, it's been really hectic and really cool to see everybody's reaction. I've gotten so much love and support from everybody who's been listening to it. And it's just really encouraging to hear that, especially with your first single.
Now tell us what was it that sparked you to put music out there? Where was the inspiration for music? Where did that start for you?
Yeah. So I've been exposed to music for as long as I can possibly remember. My dad has been a musician all his life. And so I remember I would be like 5 or 6 and would walk around the house listening to old records on the record player and all his country artists that he would listen to. And then I got into theater around the age of 5. And I did, I think by this point, about 30 musicals. And I've stopped doing some of those, but then as I got into high school and middle school, I focused on writing and working with some great producers and other writers, and it's gotten me to this point.
What's the biggest challenge or the biggest hurdle for you as a new coming songwriter? What's the hurdle in the process for you?
I think one of the hurdles for me is I write everything at the piano, and it's sometimes intimidating to take just a little piano demo and then take it to a writer and be like, are you hearing something here? When it's just a little thing I recorded on my phone.
Now, you talk about on your phone. I mean, I know a lot of folks, they used to keep little notes and all that as well. How many notes do you have on your phone of song ideas?
Oh boy. Me and my friend talk about this all the time. I have probably 300-400 just sitting in my notes app, little ideas or lyrics that'll come to me. I'll just jot them down, and sometimes I'll go back to them if an idea strikes, but a lot of times I do end up just forgetting about them.
Now, where's the basis for most of your inspiration? Where do you find those ideas?
I like to, when I write, sometimes I have a difficult time writing from my perspective. So sometimes I like to flip it, or sometimes whatever inspires the song, I like to go in that direction. One of the songs I wrote was inspired by a verse of a song, and I thought that would be interesting from the male perspective. So I wrote it from that. So I try to do that a lot in my writing, and I think it's interesting to get into other people's minds and think, what would they be thinking if they were writing this song?
Now, Born for a Friday Night, where did the story for this one came from?
Yeah, so this song is actually written by a writer named Andy Timmons, Chris Yeager, and Hunter Phelps. I met Andy when I was actually at the beach one year, and I was out performing, and he came up to me, and we've written together. But this is one of the songs that he cut, and I just thought it was a really good and fun song for the summer, especially coming out of the year that we've had. I think it's a really good, fun, uplifting summer song.
Now, how do you prepare yourself as a debut release goes out there? I mean, what were the expectations when you guys first set that out? I mean, and what were the nerves like for you putting your work out there? I'm with Lamon Records and Aristo Promotions, and the people there were all very encouraging, and they kind of set the ground of what it would be like releasing this very first single. They tell you like 4 to 6 weeks before you'll start to hear it on radio. But the cool thing about this single is within the first week, I was in radio competitions. I was all over Facebook with some radio stations, and it was just cool to see how quickly it was picking up in some places. And the thing with streaming is you can see who's listening where and if it's getting more plays in a certain area, which is really cool. Now, where's the most off the wall place that you found that's streaming your music?
I think someone in Scotland, was playing my song, in England too, which was interesting to see, especially a country song.
Yeah. And that's the thing in podcasting and, being from radio, been in radio for 20 years, you get used to it. Well, it's just the people that are around you that are listening. And, I think I saw somebody sent one of those, little memes saying, hey, I'm number 54 in whatever country. And look, nobody cares. But, I am actually number 30 in the Philippines and Puerto Rico. So there, take that.
Wow. I'm half Filipino. I've been to the Philippines.
Well, we have a bit of a following in the Philippines, so I can't explain it, but what do you equate it to whenever you see the folks listening to your music, like you said, like in Scotland and other places like that?
It just puzzles me how people find music nowadays, because I know before you'd go out to the store and buy a CD and you know the person that you're listening to, but with streaming, it's opened so many doors for people to just discover it on someone else's playlist or stumble upon it in their discovery page, which is really a cool thing to have now.
The first podcast interview, how do you prepare yourself whenever you get ready to do, I know this is a podcast, but radio, other stuff like that?
I always try to get a good night's sleep. And I always have my tea with me. I have it today. And I just try to relax myself, stretch, whatever will get me comfortable and ready to do stuff like this. And I'm always so excited too.
How much of an influence and a hand in your music, your songwriting, all of that inspiration as well has your dad played? I know he's got the acoustic over there. I know he's gonna play for us with you in a minute. How much has he helped you, especially these last few weeks?
My dad is also my manager. He's become my manager, and he's doing all kinds of crazy phone calls with people. He's become very good at it. He's calling himself a dadager. But yeah, he's been very influential on me and all of my music, getting me to start enjoying music, particularly country music. And he has some connections from Nashville back in the day with some great writers, and I've had the opportunity to work with them and meet them. And yeah, everything that I'm doing stems from him.
Did he already have cool points before, or has he just added to those as of late?
Oh, he's just been adding to them. He's already had cool.
You played it off well. You really did.
Thank you.
Well, I know that you did a cover of Randy Travis is what kind of blew up for you. Yeah. Is that what you were going to play for us today?
Yes, that is what I'm going to play today. My acoustic version of Forever and Ever Amen.
What was it about Randy Travis that really grabbed you and made you say, I'm going to put that one out?
Yeah, I heard the song, I think, in January, and it kind of has a two-step kind of feel to it. And I thought, this would be interesting with a modern twist on it. So I recorded it even in my little studio in the basement by myself and mixed it and everything. And yeah, I think that's the first song that I did the entire song and production and video for all by myself, which was really cool. But I really I wanted to see the song in modern light, and that's what I tried to bring to it. Oh, yeah. You may think that I'm talking foolish. You've heard that I'm wild and I'm free. You may wonder how I can promise you now this love that I feel for you always will be. But you're not just time that I'm killing. I'm no longer one of those guys. As sure as I live, this love that I give is gonna be yours till the day that I die. Oh baby, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. Oh darling, I'm gonna love you forever and ever, forever and ever, amen. Oh, they say time takes its toll on a body, makes the young girl's hair turn to gray. But honey, I don't care. I ain't in love with your hair. And if it all fell out, well, I'd still love you anyway. They say time can play tricks on a memory, make people forget things they knew. Oh, but it's easy to see that it's happening to me. I've already forgotten every woman but you. Oh, darling, I'm gonna love you forever, forever and ever, amen. As long as old men sit and talk about the weather, as long as old women sit and talk about old men, if you wonder how long I'll be faithful, well, just listen to how this song ends. I'm gonna love you forever and ever, forever and ever, forever and ever, forever and ever. Amen. Amen. Oh no, 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 no.
That's a great take on a classic, and for you to kind of switch it up, kind of make it your own. I mean, to put it all together yourself, got to be a little proud of yourself with that one.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. I never really got to experience the whole producing and videography side all on my own.
And you've got the age going for you as well. You've got the technical expertise and the social media. You probably don't know a life without socials, do you?
Well, I didn't have them for a very long time. So I think parts of my generation are the last ones or who've experienced no social media, which is kind of crazy.
How have your plans and maybe the goals changed for the rest of 2021, moving into even 2022 as you look forward?
Yeah. I've been going to gigs in places all over the area and trying to get in as many radio interviews and dropping off my CD to whoever will take it. Me and my dad have been doing lots of phone calls. And I'm going down to Nashville in August to work with some writers and producers and hopefully get a few songs cut then. But that is all I have on my radar so far. But I hope to keep doing more music and keep putting stuff out all the way through 2021 and 2022.
Now, if folks want to be able to find the music that you've got, obviously social's always a good place to keep up with that, website, all of that. Where's the best place to keep up with all that?
All of those are great. My social media is at Christian Yeager Music, and my website is www.christianyeagermusic.com. And you can find my latest single, Born for Friday Night, on all streaming platforms. And you can also find that song that I just did, Forever and Ever Amen, also on streaming too. So that's how you can keep up with me and hear what I have coming up and all my latest music news.
Well, there you have it. Well, Christian, man, it has been great to have the chance to visit with you today. I wish you continued success. Look forward to seeing what August produces down in Nashville.
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been so nice to be here.
Well, thanks again for joining us for this 113th episode in Season 2 of Good Questions with Cameron Dole. If you ever have a comment, a question, anything else you'd like to know, you can hit me up on the contact page at gqwithcam.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at gqwithcam. If you'd like to help out in the funding for this podcast, you can do that by visiting our merch store, where we've got hoodies, shirts, tumblers, mugs, stickers, and much more. That's gqwithcam.com/shop. You can also give a one-time tip or donation going to buymeacoffee.com/GQWithCam. If you have a special guest idea, please email me gqwithcam@gmail.com. We do want to thank our good friend Brandon Allen again for coming up with our theme music. I'm going to let him play us out. Hope you guys have a great rest of your hump day.